Good morning, everybody. Today we have a presentation on Community Cloud. Community Cloud is called Experience Cloud now. So thank you for joining us. Our presenter today would be Dan Angiu, and your host will be me, Gurleen Singh. As always, I would love to introduce Dan Angiu. He is an expert in Community Cloud with 10 years of experience and maybe more. Our sponsors today would be A2B Nexus. As always, our community support is with She4Swit. We are a women in tech community who wants to empower women to get into the tech environment and Salesforce specifically. Thank you. We would like to spread the word on the Twitter, and anyone who has the most active in this would be getting a prize. So feel free, share the words, share the knowledge, and I would be sharing this information. I can wait for a few seconds if you want to take a screenshot of these handles so that you can share the word, spread the word. Whoever has the most shares with Ashburn with Community Cloud Jan21 hashtag, as well as the other hashtags, will get a prize. And now I would like to introduce our speaker, Dan Angiu.
Thank you, Gurleen. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you everyone for attending this event. If it's okay with you, Gurleen, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'll keep talking and hopefully keep the audience engaged. And at the end of this, we walk out with new information.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dan.
Okay. Just a quick check. Can you guys see my screen? Everything okay? All right, we'll keep moving. Welcome to my overview of the Experience Cloud, Salesforce Experience Cloud. As Gurleen mentioned, this used to be called the Community Cloud. Salesforce has rebranded it for some good reasons. And in today's overview, we're going to cover some of the basics, and I don't want to say we're going to take a deep dive into some of the tools that are available in the cloud. And I think right from the get-go, what we should do is just agree on what we're going to call it. And because most people know it as the Community Cloud, and because it's easy for me to say it, I think it's safer to just go with the Community Cloud. And for the rest of this event, we're going to stick with that terminology. Before we go into the tech side of things, and figuring out what is going on with the Community Cloud, a little bit about myself. My name is Dan Angiu. I'm more of a freelancer than a big business owner. My company is called A2B Nexus. I'm a Salesforce enthusiast. I believe in the platform. I know what it can do. I've been in the Salesforce world for many, many years, and there's some information about me there. In terms of what we're going to cover today, this is a quick view of some of the topics that we're going to go through. And just to set the expectations here, most of the things you're going to see in here, I would say probably the first 2/3 of the topics, we're going to go quickly through them. And once we go into the templates and community workspaces, we're going to spend more time focusing on those, specifically the workspaces. That's where the bulk of the information that you would need resides, and that's where you get the benefit out of this this event. And right at the bottom, if you're new to Salesforce, I understand we have a mix of people here. Some of you are new to the Salesforce ecosystem. Some of you have been in the ecosystem for a long time. I will not spend too much time on introducing Salesforce or anything like that. But if you're new, you can get your free developer org by going to this link. And the next thing we're going to cover is going to be licenses. There's a number of licenses that you can get with for the community cloud, and for what we're doing today and what you're going to need, most likely what you're going to need in your org is if you go live. The ones that we're going to spend our time on are going to be the community, the customer community, and the, sorry, it's actually, why don't I have it in here? Should have paid more attention to this one, but it's really the customer community and the customer community plus and the partner community licenses. And I do have a, I lost my mouse now. Okay, sorry guys, I gotta love technology. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you look at this one here, this page gives you the a breakdown of the licenses that you're going to need for your community. The reason I start with this is because you need to wrap your head around how you can access the communities. Out of the box, you get I forget now, it's like 5,000 community licenses, customer community licenses. For everything else that is plus or a specific type of license, you would probably have to pay for it. And one thing to keep in mind is, in order to find out what kind of license you need to go to set up and maintain your Salesforce organization. So this is not the community cloud help documentation. This is for your Salesforce org. Okay, and moving forward, we're going to cover domains in a second, but before we go there, let me just go back to my every time I switch the screens, I lose my mouse. Let me just go back here for a second, just to make sure that for the people who are new to Salesforce, as a CRM system, everything revolves around objects, fields, permissions, records, and you'll hear me say throughout the presentation, surfacing records or accessing records. And that's what's going to drive the build of your community, especially if you're going to be creating cases in the community that become records in your Salesforce org for that matter. And if you need more information about how Salesforce works and all that, this is not the event for you. I think there are so many resources out there that you can explore, but keep that in mind if you're new to Salesforce. And when it comes to communities, one of the things that I like to clarify from the get-go is domains. And in my experience, whenever we had to roll out a new community, there was a lot of engagement with the marketing group of those particular companies, and they always have a say in the look and feel of the community, how people are going to access it. But on top of that, you also have to remember that for some of the components that you have in there, for them to work properly, you need to have a domain. And Salesforce gives you some options here when it comes to domains. And if you look at this one here, these are domains that were created when I built some of the communities. And don't confuse that with my domain. My domain is something that will be up here. And I didn't finish this one. I didn't roll it out to my users in this dev org, pretty much on purpose, because I wanted to show how things progress once you do that. But my advice is, once you start working on a community, make sure that you engage your marketing department and figure out that domain, because it's easier to start properly from the get-go than trying to make changes later on. In my case, because this is a dev org, I don't have a button that allows me to create a new domain, but that's not important for what we're doing here. And going back to communities, this is where you go to create a new community. So if you do a search and quick find here, you end up with all communities. You create a new community, and I already went ahead and created one for today, just because I wanted to save us a few minutes and not wait for Salesforce to put the pieces together for us. However, there are a few other things in here that I think it's beneficial to you to be aware of before we start going into building things, making things pretty. And that is the community settings. Let me just take a quick look at my deck here to make sure that we're following these things here. So touching quickly on profiles, out of the box, you're going to get some profiles for your community members. However, make sure that you clone those profiles, and those are the profiles that you're going to be working with going forward. Mostly because you might not be able to make changes to those profiles. If they're standard profiles, you're very limited in what you can do with them. So it's good practice. Just make sure that you clone them, and those are going to be the profiles that you're going to be working with going forward. Sharing settings, and this is actually something that is important. In terms of sharing settings, there are two big things in here. Let me just go back to my setup and go to sharing settings. And it's right here. Here, portal user visibility and community user visibility. Basically, these two give you visibility across an account and visibility for those users across the community itself. And these are some of the things that you need to keep in the back of your head when you're trying to make members in your community either interact with each other or communicate and manage them for that matter, especially if you're going into the partner community side of things. And you also have some sharing rules in here that you should explore at some point. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want, like I said earlier, we only have about 40 minutes left now, and I want to focus more on the build side of the things. And going to company info, just touching on this very quickly. If you're doing company info and overview, this is where you're going to see your licenses, how many you have, and all that. And if you're an admin, you probably already know some of that. In terms of overview, system overview, this is something that I need to draw your attention to. This is the porter roles, and we'll talk about roles if we cover the partner community. You have an option of creating 1, 2, or 3 roles, and the limit is 50,000. It's very easy to reach that limit if you're not careful with your roles. Ideally, you want to keep those roles to a minimum. One of the reasons that I'm bringing this up is because you will hit that limit and you might not know what happened. So keep an eye on this if you're doing roles. Keep the roles to a minimum. And also, if you need to increase the number of roles that total roles that you can have, you will have to contact Salesforce and they can bump this up to 100,000. Okay, moving forward. And sharing models. Based on your license, and that's why I started with the licensing earlier, based on the license that you're using for your portal, these are the sharing models that you have available to you to make those records available to the members of your community. We're not going to go into too much detail here. You will need to read the documentation, but basically this is what's available to you. For customer community, you only have sharing sets and sharing groups. And for the other ones, and I mentioned earlier that we're going to be focusing on customer plus and partner community, you have all these other options available to you. And when it comes to sharing sets, this is what it looks like in terms of record access. And for this example, I picked the account object. You also have another tool at your disposal to mitigate that limitation when it comes to roles, and that's the super user. And if you look at this sharing model here, it's really from top down and sideways, if you will, but not lateral. And in this diagram here, we have the partner manager that can see the users and the other users from another account or whatever is shared with that user. And then the executive can see pretty much everything, but laterally, they cannot see each other. If you introduce the super user, now they can see the other the records of other users that are at the same level with them. And I hope this makes sense to you. In today's demo, we're not going to do too much sharing or cover this topic in too much detail. But I think if you're new to communities and if you need to get up to speed on what these things mean and how they work, this is a good representation of how you can leverage the functionality that's already built in Salesforce for you. So going back to community settings, let me just go back in here. Community settings. These are the roles that we were talking about. And you can change this from 1 to 2 to 3. Again, be careful when you do this. It's going to add up very quickly. And this is another thing that you might want to change, the link to the community. Basically, what this does for you, whenever you add a member to your community, whatever mechanism you use for that, it could be either adding the profiles to the community or somebody changes those profiles or makes a user an external user, an external contact, the community user, they will get a welcome email, and you'll hear this again today. This welcome email goes out and says, hey, welcome to the community, go and complete the account, the user account setup. This link here will live for 7 days, and you might want to change this to 1 day or half a year. And the other thing is the sharing sets. And I'm going to go quickly in here just to show you what this looks like. And in a nutshell, based on the profile that you want to use for this, what you're saying is, in this particular example, what you're saying is, if the user belongs to the same account and the case belongs to the same account, then the users of that account can see each other's cases. And I hope that makes sense. Again, we're not going to spend too much time on that, but these are, you'll have to spend some time on your own here, especially if you're getting ready to go live with the community or spin up a community. There's a lot of information for this, and it's not really all that complicated once you start working on communities. And community templates, and this is where we're getting into the build side of things. Let me go back to setup. All communities. And I'm just going to do quickly new community just to show you what that is going to look like. So these are the templates that you can use. A couple of things to notice. Some of them have this lightning bolt here. That is telling you that those templates are already lightning red. Some of them are not. If you look at the Aloha one or the Salesforce tab in Visual Force pages, the big difference is that the lightning ones are responsive, and the other it's how you see them when you use the mobile one app, the Salesforce app. The Aloha one is just a starting place if you want to do SSO integration and have your users go into one place, click on something, and then send them over to the other system that you use in your company. What I want to focus on, though, is these templates here. And one that I pretty much always go to is the customer service one. When you pick a template, this is what you're going to get. And based on the template that you select, the components, the standard components that are available to you when you go into the build side of the things, it's going to be filtered. And what I mean by that, some of the components are going to be shown to you. Some of them are not, based on the template that you picked. There is a way to show all of them. However, the risk is that some of them might not play nicely with the template. And once you are okay with that template and you go to get started, that's where you put in that you have that URL and the name of the community. And once you click create, it's going to build that community for you. We are not going to do this because it takes a minute or two. But after you click create, it's going to take you to the workspaces. In our case, we named our new community WIT. And to show you what a community could look like, here is one that I came across recently where basically they have the navigation menu. You can log in or self-register. There's some graphics in here that will take you to my cases. And again, this will be something that you create a case with the organization, and that becomes a record. Once you log in, the system knows that is your record and it's going to surface that to you. And if you look at the rest of the things we have in here, there's some articles, there's some knowledge-based articles by products, and all this to me looks like it's leveraging out-of-the-box functionality. There is definitely some customization in here, but in terms of how they're putting things together, it is a community. It has the navigation menu. You can go to some of these. Obviously, I don't have a lot of access to this because I don't have an account, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how you can make this look once you go in here. Because there is a difference when you start building your own and what other folks have done with communities. Okay, let me go back to our workspaces here, and let me just go back to the deck. And now we're going to cover some of these workspaces. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the guided setup. Really, that's just a bunch of links to some of the trailheads out there that you can explore. And the ones that we're going to focus on really are going to be builder and administration. We are going to cover content management, dashboards, a little bit of gamification and moderation, but these two are critical to what we're doing. So I'm going to start with the ones that we're not going to spend too much time on, and then we're going to end up looking more at the builder workspace. All right. As I mentioned, we're not going to look at the guided setup. You also have some quick links in here if you wanted to explore those as well. But in terms of, let's start with the dashboards, for example. Actually, before I do that, let me take a step back here and explain how the workspaces work. At the top, you have this menu here. Let me just go back to workspaces. So right at the top, you have this menu here that allows you to go to your workspaces, go back to Salesforce setup, and go between communities. As you probably noticed earlier on, we have the Women in Tech community. This is the one that we're working on, and you also have the other ones that I already have in my org. And this is how you jump from one workspace to another. Going back to dashboards now. Salesforce also gives you a pack that you can install for better management, but I'm starting with this one because it's an easy one, and these are the dashboards that you might be leveraging. You can go through them and explore them further if you wanted to. The one thing that I want to point out is the settings, and this is where you actually configure the dashboard. So if you were to build your own dashboards in Salesforce and you wanted to put those in here, that's where you go in and map them to a menu here or a new menu, and you have that here at the bottom where it says custom one. If you wanted to create a new one, you will create it and then map it to a dashboard that is available in your org. And the same thing goes for engagement. Same idea. This gives you a little more information about adoption. Obviously, we don't have anything in here, but if you go to settings, the same thing, except this time around, we're looking at folders. I hope this is not too confusing and you get the gist of how this dashboard thing works. As I mentioned, you can get more from Salesforce to help you with your community management. And let's go quickly to gamification. And you'll have to turn it on. Basically, this is badges and points. And when it comes to all those badges and points, it's really based on the kind of activity that you do as a user in your community. If you answer a question, you get 5 points. If you post something new, you get 100 points. And as you score more points, you get those badges. Up to you if you want to explore it or not, but that's how it works, and that's what gamification does. It's really encouraging your users to stay engaged with the community. This is nothing new. I'm sure you've seen it in other places. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's pretty straightforward when it comes to setting up the levels and the badges themselves. However, I want to now go to the content management. And this is where you start creating some topics and navigational topics and feature topics and articles. And this is what's going to help you surface that information that we were talking about earlier to your users. And if you go here, there's a lot of knowledge articles, if you will, where you can, let me see if this loads. So all this is coming from their Salesforce org. And you also have the recommended articles. And if we go in here, once you have your topics created, then you can navigate them, and you can assign those topics to the articles that are within your org to be able to group them and have the categories that and the collections and the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the one way to look at it is the grouping of those discussions in articles that you have going on in your community. And the feature topics now, this is where if you have a new product that you want to make visitors aware of, you can make that, you can leverage this functionality where now you're creating a new, let me just do that quickly here. I want to take a step back here. So you have your audiences, and in your audiences you have guest users and you have people that are already members. With the feature topics, now you can filter it down in a way that if you have a new product that you want to push, you use that. If you have collateral, marketing collateral for your partners, you can push that as well. Article management, this is a huge topic. And I already have something in here from one of the other communities that I created. This is not a good fit for this demonstration here, but you need to spend a lot of time understanding how knowledge works in Salesforce, and then match that with the communities, and then make sure that you're surfacing the right articles and the right content to your users based on how you do this data category grouping in here. And if we were to go back into Salesforce, you'll see that I have the vehicles and North America data category groups. For a specific community, you'll have different ones, and then bring those in here. Same here with recommendations. Push them to various places in your community when you build your pages. Again, I don't want to spend too much time in here. I want to focus on CMS Connect. And what this gives you is, if you have other digital assets in your org that are residing in on a different website, for example, you can pull those in. And rather than duplicating them or having them having copies all over the websites or the communities that you have for your organization, this gives you a way to kind of tap into that, bring them into the community, and show them to your users. There is let me just go in here quickly. So this is how you would normally go about it. So this is the Adobe. It's not coming to me now, but this is the Adobe one, the Adobe CMS. WordPress is a big one, and then you have others where you can develop your own solution for CMS. And if I go to WordPress, most likely you will be using a JSON to start building this connection and start pulling those blogs or blog collections into here to display them to your users. Okay, let me go back to administration, and I promise you we're going to go to Builder, where we start putting some things together. Once you're done building your community, you're going to have to activate it. Just one thing to keep in mind is you can activate and publish a community. Publishing is more like I'm saving it, but the community is not active right now. It's just the administrators can have access to it. And this is the URL that you can use to get to this community. Once you're happy with your community, that's when you open it up to the public. And preferences, there's a lot of stuff in here that really, if you go through the information here and the guide, it will give you a good idea of what this does. And with out-of-the-box functionality, this should be enough, but you also need to look at some of the community management, and that would be flagging content, for example. In terms of record ownership, keep in mind that with records, you also have a limitation of how many records a user can own. And what happens with that user once those records are created in your org. You pick one and you go with it, but you also have to keep an eye on it as your community grows and you have more and more records. In terms of sizes, file sizes, I would definitely put something in here that limits the file size, especially if you're going to allow your users to upload files in your community. It's easy to exceed the storage capacity in your Salesforce. I believe the maximum size, if you don't put anything in there, is, there you go, 2 gigs. So be careful with this one, and also the type of files that you're going to put in here. And it's your call how you want to do it and what kind of files you are going to let your community users to upload. Moving on to members, I mentioned earlier that once your members become, one way to add members to your community is to add those profiles to the community membership. And in this case, if you look at this one here, we had we have the system administrator, and to add a profile, and I mentioned earlier, clone the standard profiles and work with those. You would pick one, put it in here, and now that member, the users that have that profile will become members of this community. Once you save, they will receive that welcome email telling them to go and complete the user record setup for your community. This is internal users, and if we were to go to all, then you have your custom community. That's the one that I created. You can add that in here as well for this particular community, and you can also leverage the permission sets. In terms of community roles, and we kind of had a peek at this when we're looking at sharing, this can be customized. I don't think you're really going to have, you're going to have to do this a lot, but if you ever wanted to do it, this is where you do it. Let me just cancel out of here. Pretty straightforward. These are the folks that are going to help you with your community. That could be developers, it could be community managers, and that's where you start creating that. Login and registration, though, this is where I want to spend a little more time. First of all, this is how you customize the branding for the login page. You have some limitations in here in terms of logo, background. However, you can have custom login pages. So you can have the standard one, but you can also have a visual force page that now you can develop and build the functionality you need. In other words, if you have partners that need to key in an account number, for example, you would leverage something like that. And even if only if they have an account number, that's when they can self-register or log in. And if you wanted to do social sign-on, you can do that as well. We have Facebook in here because I configured Facebook for one of the other communities that I have in this org. It's a matter of enabling it. There is the process of setting that up is not. It sounds straightforward, but you need to understand how it works, and it's not easy to explain in a few minutes here. Once you create your auth providers, let me just see if I can go in here very quickly. Once you have your auth providers, then those options to provide the social sign-on will be available to you. And if I go quickly in here, this is, yeah, it's not what I was looking for, but basically there's more to it. You have to configure a number of things and make sure that you have the right accounts and all that. Go back in here. I lost my. One second. There we go, and we're in administration and log in. Even with the example that Salesforce has for Facebook, you still need to spend quite a bit of time to make that work. If you end up enrolling in my Udemy course, you'll actually have a good example in there on how to make that work. And this is nothing new. You've seen other places where you can log in with your LinkedIn account, or you can log in with your Google account and all that. These at the end here are pretty straightforward as well. What do you want to do when somebody forgets their password, or they want to reset their password and use either default or custom pages? And if you want users to self-register, this is where you enable that. Without this being checked, you won't be able to, your external users are not going to be able to go in and register. In terms of emails, this will have to be a real email. And again, you need to pick your logo and you need to configure what the footer is going to look like. Let me do a quick preview here. This is what that email is going to look like. So you're going to have to customize this a little bit. And when I mentioned earlier that as soon as you add members to your community, they're going to get the welcome email. This is it. This is what they're going to get when they're made a member. Please do remember, if you make changes to your community, or if you start adding profiles and then you take them off and you add them on to your community, they will get an email. If you don't want your users to get those emails until you're done with it, or if you're doing a deployment, you need to turn this off. And then once you're done with your deployment, you need to enable it again. Otherwise, they'll keep getting emails and they'll think that they're getting spammed. Okay. That's up to you how you want to customize these emails. This is standard functionality using email templates from Salesforce. And in terms of pages, this is really configuring which one is the home page of your community. And we're not going to go into this one. This is just something that requires development, and I don't think this is the right place for it to talk about it. So let me go quickly to Builder. We have about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that you really understand how this thing works. At the top, you have the page that you're working on, and in here, you can search for a page or scroll for a page. You can view that page in different form factors, mobile or tablet. And this is where you publish the community. So once you make changes to your page, you need to quote unquote save those changes and publish it. But remember that the community still needs to be active in order for users to get to it. And this is pretty straightforward. It's previewing the community. In terms of what we have here, I'm going to start at the bottom with the settings, and then we're going to work our way up to the components that are available to you. There's a lot of options in here. If you want to grant public access to your community, this is where you enable that. Don't confuse this with activating it and making it public. If you want to change the community title, you change it from here, and that's what we have this year as well. And let me go back in here. And this is important, the guest user profile. When users of your when visitors go to your community and they self-register, they become guest users. Actually, no, let me take a step back. The guest user profile is not available in the profiles section in the Salesforce setup. The only way to get to this profile is from here. And this is where you configure what those folks that are visiting, that are registering, self-registering can do in your org. And there's a lot of things in here, how they can see articles, what records they can see, and all of that. Here, remember I was talking about the data category groups. Do they have access to them or not? So let me go back in here. Again, please do make a mental note. To get to this guest user profile, you need to go here in Builder settings in general. Don't try to look for it in setup. And when we were talking about the navigational topics and future topics, here's what that is. It's just helping you setting them up from two places, even though you're in the Builder section now. Quickly going to themes. When we started with this, we picked this theme. You can also change it, and you can go with something else that is available from here. So this is the customer service. Don't confuse theme with template though. In terms of configuration, you could have your own theme here if you wanted to. I find the ones that are out of the box good enough, but if you look at some of this here, these are some of those changes that we were talking about. And the one thing that, where is it? right here. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, I'm not going to go in here because this is going to be spending time on something that is not that important to you. But language, you can add languages to your community. You also need to add the language picker on your pages. And Salesforce is smart enough to know that the preferred language for this user is English or French or whatever it is. If you want to translate your community, then you can use the Google Cloud Translation API. However, this, from what I know, this is a paid service. So just a little side note there when it comes to translation. Now, why am I bringing this up? One thing that you can do here is we're gonna be covering audiences and page variations in a second. You can leverage the languages and combine them through various settings to make sure that you're presenting your pages in the right look and feel to your users. Navigation, this is our default navigation. Let me just close this. This is our default navigation menu here. You can create other ones and use them throughout your pages. You might want to add some in here in the footer, for example, to build a different kind of navigation. One way to change that is you go to edit, and now you can start adding menus to your navigation menu. And if you look at this one, we have home and topics. Now I can add a new menu in here, and that could be a community page, or it could be an external URL. So if I wanted to go from my navigation menu to say an ERP system in your organization, I can put that URL in here. You can also have the navigational topics that we were talking about earlier at the beginning of the demo, or you can have an object. So if you wanted to show the cases object, that would be a Salesforce a navigation menu that goes to an object. And just quickly here, I'm going to do that. Let's look at cases. And you can change the view now for those cases. So I'm just going to go with my cases. And let's call this one cases. And save it. And now it's right here. Okay. CMS Connect, we covered some of this. You need to configure it and do all that before you can actually use any of this. In terms of analytics, you'll have to have your Google Analytics ID, and you'll put that in here. You can also do it in the head markup. Not super complex. You just click in here, paste it. If you're not a developer or if you're not familiar with this, I would actually look it up a little bit to see what that takes. Again, it's not super complicated. The components panel, and remember when we're talking about the templates that we could choose from, this is the checkbox that allows you to show all the components that come with your Salesforce, regardless of what template you're using when you build your community. So if you're looking for something and you can't find it, check this one, and then when we go to the components in here, you're going to be able to see everything that is available to you. This is for performance. We're not going to cover this one, but if you start seeing performance degradation, this is one of the things that you need to consider. And in terms of security, this is a lot of it has to do with custom coding and CMS. Way too much for what we're doing today, but the good news is that if you have any of that, when you try to publish, you're going to get some errors, and then you have to go to CSP. Just go here and make those URLs. Pretty much tell Salesforce that I trust those URLs. Okay. Developer, we're not going to cover that because this is just exporting your templates to use them somewhere else. It's just too much. Already a couple of minutes over. And updates, again, if Salesforce has any updates, you will see those in here. I want to go quickly to the components, and this is remember when we're talking about what you can do. Well, this is how you drag and drop the components to your page, and then you can. When that come up, and then you can configure them. Those components will have their own configuration options, and I feel like I'm going way too fast here, and I don't know how much time we have. Grilene, can we go a little longer?
You good? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So once you add your components to your page, each one of them is going to have these options in here where you can go in and change them. So this one is welcome. Well, I can say welcome to this, to Women in Tech, and you can change the banner text. All of them are actually will also be different, and the changes are going to be reflected almost instantaneously. Some of these components, I should say, not all of them, can be configured based on your audiences. So if you wanted to, let me just close this for a second. So if you wanted to reorganize things on your page and or delete some of them, let me just go to this one. So let me delete that one. So I'm going to delete this one from the home page, and that's how you do it. You just go to the trash can here and you delete it. Then you can drag another component in here, whatever that component is. Just put this one here, just for kicks. And now you can configure your tabs, make it publicly available, and start building your community that way. I do want to spend some time on audiences, though. Actually, one thing before we go there, when it comes to themes, we already covered how to change a theme. We went in here earlier, but what I want to look at is you can change the look and feel of that theme by changing the colors, images, font, and you can actually upload an image. So what that means is if you have a particular logo and you kind of want to keep the theme of your community aligned with that logo, you can upload that image, and then Salesforce will pick up on the colors in that logo and try to make the color theme of your the color palette of your theme aligned with that logo. And fonts, not a lot of options in here, to be honest with you. I would like to see this with a little more flexibility. But if you want to change fonts, you can customize it in there. And theme settings, make things a little bigger. Navigation menu, it's the one you pick. So if you have other ones, actually, this is the multi-level menu. And if I wanted to go back to the navigation menu a second. Actually, let me not spend too much time on that one. So you can make this menu with submenus. And page structure, these are the pages and the sections on our page. That's the one we just added, if you look at it. And let me go now to this page here. Under page properties, you can have the page variations. So in other words, if I create a new page, let me just use this one. My mind is not working right. Why am I not seeing? Oh, here we go. Give me just 1 second. I want to, something's not right. There we go. Next. So we're going to use this one as our starting point. We're going to call this one home 2. Home 2. Create. All right. So now we have home and home 2. These two. They're already different. If you look at this one has the tabs. This one does not have the tabs. The tabs component, I should say. And now, based on what I have here, I can create an audience. I can have an audience in here. And I can say home to, and I can select I can say location, for example, equals let's use file equals, and let's just pick one. So let's just say it's customer plus. And we're going to save this. Done. I feel like I'm missing something there, but basically what I'm trying to get at is this homepage 2 is going to be assigned to the users that have that profile assigned to them. And that could be a number of things. If you think about it, it could be if you're a partner, I'm not going to show you announcements for internal events at my organization. But if you log in, the homepage now that you're going to land on when you join, when you log in, is going to be something that is going to show the latest product that my company has released that you might want to investigate. I hope that makes sense to you, because it's important to see how the page variations and the audience work together. Okay, and yeah, you also have some options in here. You can create audiences. We've been through this already, but basically, hold on a second. Anyway, that's where audiences come in, and you could develop a community that is pixel perfect if you wanted to, but that would be custom development. It takes a lot of work, and takes a lot of prep work as well, working with your marketing department, like I mentioned earlier. But in terms of the basics of communities, that's it. Gerline, is there anything else that you want me to go over, or do you want to go to the Q&A session now? I don't want to take too much time because I know folks have.
I think we're good. We do have some questions in the Q&A that we can go through, and if anybody else has questions, then we can go through them also. So if you're okay, I can go through the questions which are there, or the attendee can ask themselves.
Okay.
Fine.
So
I see that Vigneshwaran has a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Do you have?
Yeah, Dan. Is there any specific limitations for the number of objects the guest user can access? Because the custom community and all those things have specific limitations on number of objects the specific profile can have access to.
Yes, you do have some limitations. That's actually a good question. You do have some limitations in terms of the profile that you use for your users is going to drive the access to the objects, and how many objects you can surface to them. And a lot of that is in here. If you go to this support document that I mentioned earlier, this tells you what you can do with those licenses. And right at the bottom here, custom objects, 100 custom objects per license, or 10 custom objects. If there is, and I've said this before, if there is one documentation page that you need to be familiar with, it's this one here. There's a lot of very good information that is going to help you understand what kind of governor limits and what kind of other restrictions you have when it comes to users, licenses, page views, some API calls, and storage as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Dan.
And actually, I just want to expand on that a little more. When it comes to page views, there's if you're a user, not a guest, not just a visitor, but a user, some of those page views do not apply to you. Also, some pages, where is it? Right here. Some pages do not count against these page views. And what I mean by that, for example, the login page or lost my password, those pages do not count against your limits. And here's the roles that we were talking about earlier when we started the demo. 50,000, you can increase it to 100,000. Just wanted to point that out. Okay. What's the next question, Grilly?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you wanted to go ahead and set this up, would you be able to set up the community in full in your sandbox or in Trailhead? How far can you get with the different community options? Are you able to set up in the sandbox or through a trail, or is that even possible?
Yes, yeah. So you actually, the recommendation is whatever you do it in a sandbox or a non-production environment, and then change sets, you can push that to production, or you can use other tools to deploy it to production. However, I just want to point one thing out. There are a few gotchas when you deploy. I would, if you're an administrator or if you have a developer that can help you out, do some research before you deploy it to production. There are a few things that don't always get pushed to production, and I already mentioned that welcome email.
And
it happened to me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, you finish and then I'll ask the next question.
It happened to me on a project when one of our developers forgot to turn off that send email, and users in our organization were getting emails that looked completely legitimate. And they were legitimate because they were coming from one of our sandboxes. But all of a sudden, they were sending emails right, left, and center to our IT folks saying that, hey, has hacked our system, and we're getting these emails that we think they're spam.
And if you do the work in the sandbox, do you have to have a license in place ahead of time, or you could do some of the, just development stuff before you acquire the licenses?
For customer community, you already get licenses with your org. For some of the other licenses, like Community Plus, you'll have to talk to your account executive from Salesforce and help you with that. I think you get some of them by default, and I know with the developer org, you get five Customer Community Plus.
Okay, so you would be able
that's
to...
where, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but that's where the company info, if you go to the company info, if you go in here, you can see what's available to you. See, like this, in this particular developer org, I have 5.
Okay, so there's enough to get started to just start doing the kind of the testing and learning is prior to deployment.
Yes, and remember with the other thing that I know I talked about the super user, but you also have the delegated admin option, and the delegated admin option helps you extend the user management to other community users.
Okay.
So that for that one, you will definitely need something like Community Plus.
Great. This has been extremely helpful. Thank you very much.
I know I was going all over the place there and I was going a little too fast, but there's so much to cover, and sometimes you need to slow down when we don't have a lot of time. If there are any other questions, let me just see here in our, where's my Zoom? Corinne, do you want to read the next question?
Yes. So we had a question from Vigneshwaran around VF pages. Do you want to ask the question, or I can ask Vignesh?
Yeah, we have a specific template with VF pages, right? What if I used another template and I want to replace one of the like pages with VF page? Is that allowed, or is that possible?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can do that. When you create your pages, where am I? Actually, that's one of the things that I should have covered. When you go to new pages, you can do a standard page, and then from here you just build it that way. Obviously, the page you'll have to leverage components, and I'm not a developer. I don't have a lot of experience with Visualforce, but you can do it absolutely. And you actually had an example of that when you were looking at the login pages, where you can really use a Visualforce page for login or forgot password. And the other thing
Thank
that
you,
I should have covered is the one thing that you can take advantage of is the flows that are already built in Salesforce, or some of the flows that come. So some of the ones that you have there, or Salesforce gives you a package where you can have pre-built flows to have somebody register a product, for example, for warranty. And once you drop a flow component in here, flow. Let me try that again. Flow. I'm just going to put it somewhere in here. Then you can pick the flow from here. So here, register new product. I already have that package in my dev org, and as you can see, we have the reset password or verify identity. In one of the projects that I was involved in with communities, we were using communities for identity management, and that was it. We were not doing anything else with communities. It was just identity management, but that gave us an option to integrate with other systems and give them access to those systems for some of the things that they were. I don't want to get into too many details because I don't know how much I can share without breaking any rules, but basically those folks needed to self-register. And I mentioned earlier that you can use a flow to do to use something like an account ID or customer ID or something like that. And based on what information they provided, we were able to say, you are this kind of user. We're going to give you this kind of profile, and you can only access this other system here where you can see the things that are yours. So you can use flows in here, like I just showed you, or you can use a VF page and do what same thing that you normally do in a VF page. Next question. Does that answer your question? Actually, before we move on, does that help you?
Yes, Dan. Thank you.
Hi. And the next question after that is, give me 1 second, I'm just going through.
While you're doing that, I'm going to have some water because I'm dying here.
Yes. So it seems like the next question was, how do you create an audience? I know you did cover that. If you could just quickly show.
Absolutely, yeah. So let me just go here, and I'm going to go to settings. So if you look at this, actually, let me go to another page, and then I'm going to come back to this one. Let's go to contact support.
I'll quickly ask Shivanya if that was a question, if she wanted anything specific. She's here.
Do you want me to cover that again, or are you good? Because I don't know when the question was asked.
Shivanya, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question if you have anything specific? I think we can't hear her. She is unmuted though.
Oh, okay, so let's go to page settings, and you can go to page settings from here or from here. And if you, let me just scroll this over.
Dan, can you wait for like 1 minute? I think she logged out, or she's probably logging back in.
Okay.
Just give it a minute. Till then, maybe we can cover another question. Can you talk about community licenses and the cost if possible? That's again with Shravanya. She has the same.
Yeah, the community, the customer community licenses, those are free up to, I have a menu covering my browser here. Let me see if I can move this. It's this one here. Yeah, you do get some free ones. And actually, let me expand on that a little more. I should have touched on this earlier. You have two types of licenses. You have the name-based licenses, and it's those here. Actually, these here on the left. And then you have the login licenses. And basically what that means is the ones on the right, the login licenses, are a pool of licenses. And without getting into too many details, because I know it can get very confusing quickly. What it comes down to is if you need, let's just say you have your Community Plus users. If you have 2 users, instead of buying 2 licenses for those Community Plus users, you buy 1 Community Plus login license, and that license is shared between those 2 folks. Now, there's some gotchas there, and that is explained here at the bottom, how the login licenses are counted. But if you have, for example, a community where users log in only several times a month kind of thing, then from a cost perspective, it makes more sense to go with the login based licenses than the named licenses. Because at that point, I log in today, but you log in tomorrow, it still counts as one license. And if I log in 3 times today in 24 hours, I think it's yeah, right here. So the timeout period for a session is configurable up to a maximum of 24 hours. So if I log, if we leave it at 24 hours, if I log in 5 times in 24 hours, it's still one login, because that's me. I'm just one user. And then you log in tomorrow after 24 hours, that's still one license because we're sharing it. Does that make sense? And in terms of cost, I can't comment on that. The free ones that you get with your community, I believe, in a production work, that's 5,000, I want to say. After that, you'll have to talk to your AE and either purchase more or find out what the cost is for Community Plus or partner community. And as far as I can tell, I think they're a percentage of your. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop because I don't know how it works. Sorry. Does that answer the question about licensing and costs? I know I couldn't really give you.
I think she said yes. Her voice is not, the computer audio is not working. So she said yes. She's good.
Okay.
I have one question. I know that for login licenses, you have an option for the license within certain period of time. The license goes back to a pool of licenses, like it can
Correct.
be activated and activated again. Where do you make that change if you need to assign those hours, like, or days?
Are you saying where do you change this timeout period?
The
For
period that the license goes back to the pool. In the login license, for example, say I just want that person to have access for a day, and then the license should go back to the pool until that person logs back again.
I'll be honest with you, I never had to do that. on my projects, we had a lot of customer community licenses, and we didn't look into the login ones, but I can look into it and get back to you on that one. I know the maximum based on what I'm seeing here is 24 hours, but in terms of how you configure that, never really had a need to look into it.
Sounds good, but we can take it offline. Thank you so much. That's helpful.
I didn't really help you much there.
But I can always get back to you. Thank you so much, Dan. Let me just see if we have any more questions. Do you want to give some update on your Udemy course? And we would be giving out the coupon for that today.
Yes, absolutely. So what as you probably know by now, I have a Udemy course for the Community Cloud. It is 9.5 hours that covers the things that I covered here in an hour in a lot more detail, and probably, hopefully, a little more articulate than than how I explain things here, with some examples. And I believe the course will help you get a really good feel for what you can do with communities, with all those examples that I do there in the course. And in terms of getting access to it, I will provide a coupon that will give you free access to the course. You get it for life.
Email.
Sorry, what was that?
I can send that coupon out in the email.
Yes, I need to go. There's some limitations with Udemy, how often you can do it and all that. And keep in mind, once you get the email, the coupon is only valid for 3 days. So if you're planning on enrolling, again, it's free with the coupon. You'll have it for life. And signing up with Udemy is also free. You don't. If you're not familiar with Udemy, you create an account and you don't have to pay anything to be a member. And once you get the email, enroll within 3 days.
Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you so much, Dan. This was a lot of information we covered today, and the audience will definitely use the Udemy course. I myself am using the Udemy course to increase my knowledge on Community Cloud. It is really helpful. So I would encourage everyone to go and once we send out the coupon, definitely go in and check it out.
Thank you for organizing this, and I hope I didn't confuse you too much. I apologize if I was rambling at times, but if you have any questions, you have my contact information. We can connect on LinkedIn as well, and I'm hoping that this intro or the course can help you with your community projects.
Thank you, Dan. We should be good. And I just wanted to let everyone also know that for the Twitter contest, you have till 9 p.m. today evening, EST. And whoever has the maximum Twitter posts, and is most active, would be getting a prize. So thank you so much. Make sure you fill in the form that I've mentioned in the chat if you want to be considered for that. Perfect. So thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, you have our Twitter IDs. You can always reach us there.
Thank you very much for setting this up. It was very, very informative.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.